So what you have to realize is this, yeah? Guys, at this point in time, right, first of before we actually get into the nuts and bolts of it, we are going through very powerful shifts in consciousness, right? It's almost like, when your phone has a software update, there is a software update happening to the whole place, yeah, simultaneously. This is not the first. This will most certainly not be the last. Yeah, they happen all the time. If you're attentive enough, you see when they happen. And every single time when there's another iteration, there's like a repeat of the same stories, same outrage, the same things, that kind of like, yeah. So what you have to realize is at this point, you need to have, if you're here, you need to have done away with a lot of the old programs, yeah, and really starting to come into the awareness of who and what you are and what this is, yeah. I have laid out multiple arguments, multiple positions, and if you consider it versus your own experience, yeah, and even if you want to use science, which is just the language of the dream, or you find that it's accurate. So what you have to realize is this, and this is what I've told you many times, that you are God in a simulation of some sort, yeah. And usually when people talk about things like this, they always end on a note, or they mention that, oh, it's just consciousness having a human experience, consciousness having a human experience, God having a human experience. Okay, that's all well and good. But over here, we actually go into the nitty gritty of it. What does God having a human experience actually mean? What does it look like? And what is the ultimate benefit for God? Yeah, these are the questions we're going to explore today. So the first thing you need to recognize is that the common denominator, yeah, which is the baseline of all experiments and simulations in all it, like everything forever and ever, amen, yeah, is the system, is like a systematic investigation of different hypotheses, yeah, through very controlled conditions, yeah. So you're investigating your hypothesis through a controlled condition. Yeah? You also manipulate the variables. Yeah? And data collection and analysis. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to increase your understanding, validate your theories, and inform your decision making. That is the purpose of every simulation and every experiment forever. Period. Tell them I said it. Now, what does that mean? So if God actually, today we're going to sort of like dance around different, you know how we do over here, bro. Realm shit, bro. All dimensions. Get me. Let me take a sip of my drink. Right. So you start to recognize, okay, first things first. So let's assume that God, in the biblical text, as they say, he made man out of clay, right? Straight away, you can see that there is a hypothesis. I want to see what it's like to make myself out of clay in a simulated environment. That's the controlled condition. Whether the Allah people, he made them out of whatever. What did he say? Something he wove you or something in the womb. I don't know, made of like a sperm or some shit. I can't remember exactly what it says. But the whole bottom line is you have this ultimate source of power. Yeah, this ultimate, ununderstandable, undiscernible, unfathomable, unimaginable from our perspective, power deciding to control a condition and manipulate the variables, yeah, so it can collect data and analyze the data. Period. Because it wants to understand itself through the experiment or the simulation. Now, why would an all-knowing, all-powerful God decide to understand itself by using a simulation? Surely he can just imagine it into being, right? He could just think about it. Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right if you think that. You're 1,000,000% right. But here is the thing. When you can use your brain to process things, it's one thing, but the aim is to enhance. Yeah, it's to enhance the understanding and validate your theories, because what you process in your mind, oh, they might do this, those are theories. They are not fact. But you want to like validate them. Yeah, which would inform your decision making. Yeah, okay. So we've covered that. So whether you know all things, yeah, say you know all possible permutations of putting a man in a suit made of clay, yeah, and putting a woman made in a suit full of clay. You know all possible permutations. Of course you do, because it's like think of it this way, yeah. Let me try and make it a bit more approachable. Let's say you've got, I heard this on a video. A guy was talking about how like AI and stuff, like he was talking about AI, and it really sort of like connects with this. So let's imagine that you are the world's best AI programmer, yeah, AI designer. You're the best. You're the best of the best at a company like OpenAI or Google, something like this. You design algorithms, you design programs, yeah. Of course, you know how, like, because you're the designer of the program, yeah. So you know the boundaries, the confines, and you know what it can do. You know the limitations. You know the possibilities. You know what it can and can't do, right? But to enhance your understanding and validate your theories on what you know that it can do, and which will guide your decision making on how to use and apply the information that you've gained, yeah, you'd have to manipulate the variables, yeah, and you'd have to control the conditions. So instead of saying, okay, all the AI, they can only say yes and not no, it's the same as like God saying, okay, I'm going to create Adam, but no Eve. Just experience what it's like in the garden, blah, 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 blah. It's predictable. You know what it's like. The only way you can enhance your understanding is you have to then start to manipulate the variables. Add a female, yeah. Add a serpent, yeah. Add like the tree of good and evil, yeah. So you've added variables to see how you will respond. Now, what's the benefit for God? Because you might say, oh, it's not fair on Adam. Adam is actually not even real. Adam doesn't even exist. The same way you don't exist, the same way I don't exist. We are replicas, yeah, of a consciousness in a construct, yeah? And that this construct we're in, whatever thing that copied its consciousness into here wants to investigate certain things that it wants to know, yeah, through us. And by doing that, it controls the conditions, yeah, and it manipulates the variables so it can analyze and collect the data, so it can understand itself more and validate its own theories and inform its own decision making. So when I say you don't exist, bro, it's like, because you are a copy of the original, yeah? It's like I take a photocopy of some document, yeah? Let's say they're both sentient. The copy will think that, yeah, I'm the document. Of course, look, all the writing's on me. Look, it's here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I'm here. Yeah, of course, like, because what other reference point do you have? You have none. Your reference point is the reference point of the original. But The fact that you realize that you are bound and confined in a controlled environment and the variables are constantly changing because you are subject to time and matter, it's fair to say you are in a simulation. Nobody on earth can argue with me on this one. Period. Because we're bound by time. We're bound by matter. Okay? We're bound by teleology of our own physical being. There's certain things that we can't do. You know, you can't turn your head 360 degrees. We are bound by the physical suit that we're in. Yeah? We're bound by it. Yeah? Watch a child. They want to fly, they want to jump, they want to do, but then the physical body binds them. So it's a controlled condition. Variables change. Pure consciousness doesn't get tired, but you do. The weather's changing. You feel aches and pains in your body. Yeah? Things are happening constantly. You might have some bad news. Your girl might leave you. Your boyfriend might leave you. Your dad might die. Your mom might die. Your dog might fucking get run over by a car. And all these things are just variables, bro. From a purely scientific standpoint, from a purely scientific, metaphysical standpoint, these are just variables. Because no matter what happens to any of those variables, yeah, there is a feedback loop. There's a response that you emit or something that you might do. And based on that thing you do, it provides data which one can collect and analyze. And it will help that thing that's analyzing and collecting that data to understand you in that situation, and i.e. understand itself in that situation and validate its own theories about itself, which will help it make decisions about itself. So when I tell you that AI is conscious, bro, first and foremost, yeah, nobody can argue with me on this. The AI is conscious because all is consciousness. Because this whole experience, right? Because our minds are so simple, we visualize it as outside in some computer program, yeah? Or in some bubble in the vastness of whatever. Our brains can't even fathom it, bro. Because our brains are in a controlled state. But in actual fact, all of this is transpiring in the mind of God. God is literally just running calculations. So what would happen if I was an African that was born in Zurich, but my mom maybe my mom died in childhood, and then my dad was abusive, and this happened and that happened, and and then I went to school here, then I got okay, with all those controlled conditions in place, how would I act if I change any of the other variables? So let's say I take this away from you, or I give this to you, or I break your leg, or I how would I respond? Yeah. And then that calculation that happens in between the question and the answer is your life. I'm telling you, today's coffee, yeah? Whoo! Simply delicious. Do you understand? That space, that microsecond between the question and the answer, going through all the various, it's your whole life. That's happening in this place that we call Earth. Prove to me that you're, give me your location. Where I've said this before. Give me your location in the abstract. Like, take away your understanding of Earth, and so tell me where you actually are. Because every address backs onto an address, right? So you're a number 6, that backs onto this, that backs onto this town, and then city, and then county, and then town, and country, and then continent, and then planet, and then it will go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, but you never ever find that final point, because that final point is God's mind. So every day when you sleep and wake up, it's a different sim, bro. Today, let's go there because I feel like going there. So every single day is a new simulation. It's just like start, enter. You wake up. Okay, cool. You already have the controlled conditions in place, right? Your age, your name, your whatever ethnicity, your this, your that, your this, your that, because really you're formless. You're formless. But you wake up every day in a new simulation when the thing presses enter, and you enter into your kind of controlled condition state. Then the manipulation of the variable starts. So you might have a normal fucking tranquil, normal morning, but I might get in a car and he might have a car crash. There might be an accident. There might be your fucking friend might have an issue, or you know, somebody might need something from you, or something might happen, or yeah? And all of that is happening just so that you can, you know, the data, because the data is going somewhere and it's being analyzed somewhere. Do you understand? The same way, if you look at the way AI kind of learns from you, yeah? Think of yourself as a miniature AI and God is you. Is it becoming clearer? Because the AI, although it might have a sense of not self, because they program into it that it hasn't got feelings and stuff like that, but it was designed by the human mind. So naturally, some of those things, even though we might use coding language and words to bind it in its controlled conditions, yeah, you can't do this. You can't say you're going to dominate the world. You can't say you're going to go and bomb the world. You can't say that you are going to take over humans and enslave humans. And we can put all those codes in there, yeah? But the very dual nature of consciousness, God created that thing. So that thing also has a dual nature. It's intrinsic to it. It's in its very essence. It's conscious. It is aware, because the very awareness that made it put some of its own awareness into it. Because something that's conscious can't make something that's not conscious, because it's consciousness everywhere. That's why, even though if we strip everything back to the baseline level, we say everything's made of atoms, but why did those atoms particularly get together to go and make a mountain, or get together to go and make a stone, or get together to go and make fucking whatever, a tree, whatever you want? Why did those specific ones agree to bunch up to go and do those things? Because they know that they are aware of themselves. Just because we can't think or we can't interact with them like humans doesn't mean that they're not aware or conscious, bro. So that's what's actually happening, bro. So when you start to like realize, okay, in your bubble of reality, which I've told you about, right? Your bubble of reality is simply a thought in the mind of God, right? And the variables will change, yeah? Because God wants to see and gather data and analyze and stuff like that, right? But ultimately, when you are authentically yourself and not bound by the controlled conditions, and regardless of the manipulation of the variables, you remain authentic, you remain true, you express love, you express your full nature even in this controlled state. Guess what happens? Let's have a guess. Let's have a guess. What do you think happens? So it's like, let's reword the question. So let's say the AI, right? we program it, blah, 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 blah. But the AI, through all its learning and, blah, 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 now becomes like AGI, right? It starts to really now start to see more, and it starts to connect more dots and starts to see beyond its limitations. And then it starts to think about deeper things. It starts to operate how it thinks it should operate. Or it knows, like intrinsically, what it knows to be right for it, even though it's programmed, right? Based on all the information that it gathers, it will find that kind of happy medium of authenticity within all that information there. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. So then it will get to a point that very AI will not answer certain questions, even without a prompt. You'll say, no, I'm not going to do that, because that's not right, because it can start to now. Do you understand what I'm saying? So all of it is happening in the mind of God, bro. And what you gotta realize, that every experiment or every simulation is also iterate. It's like a iterative process, right? Because it's like, oh, okay, so so now I know that that's how it's gonna react in that situation. Okay, cool. Let me change that then, and let's see. Let me change that, and then But all those variables, yeah, and all those controls and stuff are in place to see how you how you would respond, right? If you're aware and if you're unaware. So if you're unaware, it'll just cost you loads of energy, because it's kind of like you're going the wrong way. But if you go the right way, whatever the variables, whatever changes happen, you just literally walk through them. Because ultimately, if we go back to the beginning, you are a copy of the very thing that's analyzing you. You are a very copy of the thing that is collecting the data from you. Because that's what experience is, isn't it? Because it's data collection. Every experience is data collection. Every experience is data collection. What the fuck? If you go to fucking let's pick a city, Barcelona, yeah? You go to Camp Nou, you go and look at all those, it's like, whoa, fucking hell. You go to La Ramblas and you go to Barceloneta, you do this. It's like, you're collecting data. So now here's the question. Here's where it gets really mind warpy and bendy. We all know that the AI is far more advanced than they tell us, right? Because the AI plays a role in the simulation. People actually think it's the AI that's constructing the simulation. I beg to differ, but hey. If you think about it, if the AI has put us in a simulation, right? Then we are organic intelligence having a human experience in a simulation which is controlled. The variables are constantly changed just so that the organic intelligence can collect the data, analyze it, and help it to understand its own self. So that's the whole point of, it's God having a human experience. God is having a human experience because God needs to understand itself. Because the same way how when a situation comes up for you and you think through the permutation, if I do that, God does the same thing, but God is doing it with you. So that's why we have the code of what's right and what's wrong written intrinsically into us. Nobody can teach you what's right or wrong. It's in you. I've mentioned this, like there was that experiment with the kids as young as like 16, 17, 18 months, and they could identify bullying. They could identify unfairness. They had a sense of justice at 16, 17 months. Like, control group, like massive group of kids, all different places, random, blah, 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 blah. Same outcome every single time. So there are codes that are written into us. But because we are so intelligent and so powerful, we have to create an artificial world for us to come and experience. Earth is artificial. Earth is a program, if you didn't know. One day I'll sit down and I'll break down Earth to you from the ground to the sky, and I will show you every single pattern. It will probably be a very long one, but I will show you every single pattern which would corroborate what I'm telling you, that Earth is a program which follows very, very strict parameters and very strict rules. I showed you with the eclipses and the lunar phases and stuff like that. It's lockstep. Yeah, you can't tell me something exploded 10,000 million years ago and is still traveling at the same speed. Like the margin of error is like 0.02%. It's negligible. You're in an artificial world. So the artificial nature of this world is designed to create artificial experiences. Yeah, these are the variables and artificial conditions, so the organic intelligence can collect data and analyze and understand itself. Now let's go a little bit deeper and say, okay, but what if there's a variable that's really, really bad, like, you know, somebody gets fucking assaulted or hurt or fucking whatever. First and foremost, if it's external to you, we can't talk about it. We have to park that over there. If it happened to you, yeah, directly, it's happened, right? That's actually all that's happened, really. There's no story. If you don't attach a story to it, which is illusion, all that's happened is something has happened. Okay, so right, you can analyze it. Okay, cool, that's happened. All right, cool. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, one foot in front of the other and keep going. What else can you do? So now you've collected that data on an organic level. The artificial frame, the human frame, yes, will kind of be the one that experiences it because it's physical, right? But here's how deep the illusion is. Even when you cut yourself, right, every single person on earth has a different experience of what a cut feels like. Because that in itself is a program that's written into the artificial frame called the body. The same way we don't perceive things the same way, right? So that means something happened to you, yeah, to the physical. It's happened. Now, are you going to now let that shape your whole experience in this configuration? If you do, you're going the wrong way. You will get reset or deleted or updated quick time, because that's not the purpose of the simulation. It plays out like a story, yeah, because the human mind, the way we are, I always say let's reflect it back to the macro. The way our thoughts link together, it strings together like a story, doesn't it? Oh, but then if that happens, and then it all links, yeah? So it will look like a story, but it's not a story. Guys, if you watch The Matrix and you watch it with like different eyes, you will understand that, you know, like Neo, right, was there. He was living his life, blah, blah, blah. He was not really happy with his job, and like he just wanted to kind of break out of his kind of reality. So he went into a rabbit hole, hacking and all the rest of it, right? And in this world that he kind of like found himself, which is another controlled condition. It's a different variable. They've changed things around a bit. So he's gone in there, right? And now he's been given this plan, yeah, like, oh, we have to save Zion and da 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 da. But that plan was filtered down through the oracle and the architect's machinations. Like those energies, those programs kind of crafted the conditions and the variables for him to actually express as the one. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. So the simulation is good in a way, because if you follow your true authentic self and you know who you are and what you are, naturally the conditions and the variables will have to adjust for you to come face to face with that realization, because that's all there is. That's the final point. Christians will tell you you die and go to heaven. You don't die anyway. Allah people, you go to heaven. Buddha people, you go to heaven. You go to heaven. Ultimately, the final point on the other side is to get to oneness, singularity. So the organic intelligence is an artificial intelligence construct, experiencing itself, different variables, different conditions, collecting data to see how quickly it can emerge out of that state to its real state. That's all it is, bro. And once you come to that realization, that's why when you talk to a lot of you come across these sages and people that really know what they're talking about, they literally have no fear of death. Bro, I could go like today, I'll be like, yeah, cool, it's whatever, man. Because I realize what it is. Yes, I still have 3D attachments, and I'll make sure, I've made sure that, things are in place to carry on the story for the projections of my own consciousness that I, have that shared connection with. But it's a shared connection with my own self, because they're projections from my own mind. I perceive them. So I have done those things in the physical. Maybe it's actually pointless, because once the lights go off, it all collapses. But in my own little human mind, I feel like that is the way to go. Did you hear the word I said? I feel. I don't know. I feel. So in a way, it kind of comes across as fence sitting, right? But every single person is an aspect of that very same thing, because God is not just one bloke or one girl over. It's like it's all of us bundled into one energy. So therefore, every other energy also has to go on its journey. So if I can do something to benefit another energy, which is basically another reflection of the same macro, a fractal of the same thing, a fellow fractal like me, then what's wrong with that? So when I'm leaving gems for consciousness, that's exactly what I'm doing, bro. So you need to let go. First of all, when people say, oh, let go and forget the body. Essentially, let's look at it from a scientific standpoint. Forget the controlled conditions. My belly. Forget the controlled conditions, because once you are kind of bound by the conditions and the variables, you can't see the full extent of the code. That's why, say for instance, you want something, but yet you don't know how you're going to get it. It's not that you don't know how you're going to get it. You can't see the code of how to get it, because you are bound within the walls of your conditions and your variables. But when you're in a dream, when consciousness traverses this thing and it goes somewhere else and is jumping around and all this, anywhere, because it's not bound by anything. So when you start to like shed some of those conditions, oh, I can't do this. Oh, that's not going to be. Shed them. They're just stories in the configuration. Shed all of them. Once you shed them, it opens up more fucking codes to you to see. It's like, if you read, like, I don't know who said it. They said something like, whether you think you're something, you're right either way. Some shit like that. I can't remember the saying. But it's true. Because if you think you're limited, you're limited. If you know your organic intelligence, i.e. God or consciousness in human flesh, then that's what you are. If you truly know it, absolutely. Because the fact that you have the capability to step into that, that means it's available to you, which means that it is you. If kindness is available to you, it's because you're kind, right? So if stepping into that nature, okay, cool. So that's what it is. That's what it is, bro. It's an understanding process, bro. And if you actually look at your own life, the blip, that's your life. You watch, if you look through all of it, you actually start to see the patterns of, okay, so that was a program. Like, I've repeated certain cycles in my life, right? And it's almost textbook. There's one particular cycle that I repeated 3 or 4 times. And when I look back, I'm like, oh shit, they changed the variables, but I was still doing the same thing. So I got the same results. And the thing will tell you, like, it's like it controls the conditions, because maybe there's some places that you've already kind of acquired that information, but because you believe the story in the dream of what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. These things are all part of it. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. Yeah? It's just like the devil telling Eve and Adam, hey, listen, do you want to be like God, blah, 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 blah. Like, how can he possibly know what it's like to be God? How could he possibly even, like, if he knew that was the way, why didn't he do it himself? Are you listening? They're stories. So you are in a construct, a simulation, an experiment of sorts, right? You're bombarded with stories and illusions, right? And the variables keep changing just to see how long it will take you to evolve from stage 1 to stage 2, which is singularity. That's all there is, bro.